All Over the Road New Orleans is brought to you by Coin Trader Inc. Mind your money, and recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Here we go!
First time in Louisiana. Maybe we can go on down to New Orleans.
It is another All Over the Road podcast from New Orleans.
Yeah, I'd like to try the Bowden. Oh, it's a boudin. It's hot here. I feel like I'm in an oven. Mardi Gras is only that one day, right? A whole month.
You know, we could take you on a ride here, a ride there, a ride over there. But on today's show, it's Scott Mckay. And he's going to take you on a hayride. Every time we have Scott Mckay on the show, Teddy, I mean, it's a big event because Scott Mckay is an author, not just on the political scene, which he's an expert, but novels. He's just got a mind. He's just got a mind that never stops. And when we have him on the show, he knows a little bit about everything, probably a lot about everything. And I call him Mr. Know-It-All. I've just nicknamed him.
I would definitely agree with that. I mean, you ask him one question, just let him go.
Yeah, he knows
just everything. Let him go, and he just, and you just got to cut him off and get another word.
He knows it all.
That's the way it is. Yeah.
He knows
good
it all.
Yeah.
You know, my mother used to say that to me. What do you think you are, Mr. Know-It-All?
Yeah, what if his mom told him, Scott, you know it all, don't you, Scott?
Are you Mr. Know-It-All?
We can ask him.
That.
First question.
Yeah, we're going to ask him if he's Mr. Know-It-All. All right, Scott Mckay, you know him, you love him, you can't live without him.
No video?
No, but you know these technical difficulties. You know, I
blame
it on us. I blame it on Gina is what I do.
I put on a nice shirt. I was all fired up about this.
I know. I was looking forward to seeing what you look like. I don't think I've ever seen you.
I would take this off and go hang it up so I can use it again. I mean,
ever since we had the Rougarou guy on, you know what the Rougarou is, don't you, Scott? You're from Louisiana. The Rougarou?
Yeah, Rougarou. Yeah.
We had him on a few weeks back, and I think he jinxed it all or something, put some kind of spell on it. I don't know.
Ever since the Rougarou, we've been having technical problems.
Right.
Did you know the story about the Rougarou? They say that if you're ever bitten or scratched or maimed by the Rougarou, you cannot tell anybody that happened for a year and a day, Scott, or you become an actual Rougarou. Did you know that one?
Well, I mean, it seems to me there's probably reality TV money in being a Rougarou, so I don't know if anybody could hold to that.
Oh, now you got me going here. The thing is that my mother used to say stuff. I was just telling Teddy, my mom used to say stuff to me like, you know what, Victor, what do you think you're, Mr. Know-It-All?
You think you know everything.
You know everything. You're Mr. Know-It-All. But you know what? I officially think that you are. If there's ever a guy walking around this earth in the flesh that is a Mr. Know-It-All, it is Mr. Scott Mckay, our frequent guest on the program. He's doing a book tour. He's all over television and podcasts. So now you got something to do with Wilco?
You were just on Andrew Wilco, right? On,
I was just on. Well, I wasn't on with Wilco. I was actually Tim Young, who's actually an old buddy of mine, is guest hosting, and so Timmy had me on. But I did Lars Larson yesterday. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, is he in relation to Willy Wonka, the chocolate guy?
No.
Okay, so.
Well, how's the book doing there, Scott? The Revivalist Manifesto.
It's bouncing along.
Yeah.
It's an adventure trying to sell a book. I'll just say that. I mean, there's a million of them out there, and everybody's hawking theirs, and so you're really in a lot of competition for an audience of, people that are really busy, and they'll buy your book and you're like, well, tell me how tell me what you thought of it. And then 3 weeks later, it's like, oh yeah, I'm on chapter 6. I'm like, I know it's not that hard to read. It's like, I just don't have time. So we're actually in the process of, I got a really good guy from who's somewhat local, Kevin Gallagher from here in Baton Rouge.
Oh, I know him, KC. I used to work with him in radio.
Yeah, KG.
Yeah.
So, and you know that like Kevin has like the voice of God.
Yeah.
And so he's actually doing the voiceover for the audiobook, which should by hopefully Halloween we'll have it done.
Yeah.
So the audiobook's going to be available for folks that, don't have time to read. And like everybody I talk to is like, yeah. I like listening to audiobooks when I'm in the car.
Yeah.
Because I'm so tired of FM radio and, Rush Limbaugh's gone and like the whole bit. So like everybody's reading audiobooks or listening to audiobooks, and we needed one. So Gallagher stepped in, and I already heard the first couple of chapters, and they're freaking awesome.
Yeah,
so
that's
can't
great.
wait for the audiobook to come out. So it's going to be neat.
Well, the reviews have been very good. I see you've got them all on your website, of course. 5.0
everybody who has reviewed it on Amazon that actually read the book is giving it 5. I got 2 Democrats that didn't read it that like, oh, I'm going to go screw him up on his reviews, and I got a 1 star and a 2 star. And it's like,
I hate that.
Well, you know,
I'll be honest. I respect the 1 star guy more than the 2 star guy.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, what are you doing?
Right.
Give me a review.
An honest opinion.
Give me
right.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not even an honest opinion because they didn't read the book. But if you hate me, go ahead and hate me.
If you're gonna jam a guy, jam him good. You know.
Exactly.
Now, look,
get your money's worth, for crying out loud.
Scott, this is Victor speaking. If I were a great interviewer host, which I should be, I would have read the book by now. I have to admit, I have not, but I did order it last night. All right, off of Amazon.
There you go.
So it is coming. So, the next time we talk to you, I would have read the book.
Well, okay. I don't read very often, so I'm going to wait for the audiobook.
You would.
There you go.
There you go.
But now you got another thing coming up. You got another interview coming up, so we don't have a lot of time with you, correct? Or?
No. The other interview was Wilcow, so you guys have me as long as you need me.
We're done with Willy Wonka, and now here we are. You're in the, you can tell.
I like Andrew Wilcow.
I don't even know who he is.
Yeah, he thought it was some other guy. He thought it was a Jerry Springer type guy.
The Jerry Springer guy.
No, he's on the Patriot channel. He's conservative. He's like, we're right, they're wrong. Right. That's his big thing, saying.
Ted's got some things he wants to talk to you about, but I want to get into the Saints because I know you got an opinion on the Saints, and I'm right with you on the whole Saints thing. Okay, so by the time you hear this, I think the Saints would have played. The London game will be over. Yeah. Okay, and that's what's going on this week. And we should have this show tomorrow. Okay, well then the London game won't be over. But I want to get into the Jim Haslett comparison that he used, which I completely agree with you. Yeah, right. Okay, so the book's going well, but you haven't been here yet with the book signing here yet, correct?
Not yet. Well, we did a Hayride event in Metairie. And I had like signed books for all kinds of people. But it wasn't like a book signing. So we're still going to do that. We're actually doing another Hayride event November 9th.
The day after the midterm.
That one's going to be in Mandeville. And believe it or not, we have Kurt Schlichter coming in from out of California to come speak.
Schlichter, I love him.
Kurt Schlichter.
Schlichter's got, he's got the town hall column. I've known Kurt for a while. He actually spoke at a Hayride event we did back in 2009 in Metairie. And he was like, when are you going to get me back down there? I'm like, how about the day after the midterms? He's like, dude. So he's coming, and November 9th, and that should be a big deal.
Okay, November 9th, but tell us more. Like, where is it and what time?
It's the Fleur de Lis.
It's going to be Fleur de Lis Center in Mandeville, which is like right there on Causeway, just on the other side of the lake.
Very nice place. I've been to a wedding there. Very, very nice place.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they mostly do weddings, so it's kind of I don't know if we fit there, but we'll find out. But
and it's not free.
Like cocktail hour at 6 and dinner at 7, and the program.
Can you get me and Teddy in?
Tickets are $80.
Yeah, of course I will.
Okay,
absolutely.
We're gonna put that on the calendar, Teddy. All right, I want to go to that.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, about this. I keep hearing about this Mayor Cantrell recall. Is that really a thing, or is it just a bunch of people that just ticked off at the mayor because she sucks, or what is it?
Can that happen?
Well, the last I heard, and it was a few days ago, they were sitting at something like 11,000 signatures, and they need 54. So, they're ahead of schedule if you just figure like a steady stream of people signing it. Mm-hmm. But the way these efforts work is you're usually going to get the fastest volume of signings at the beginning. Right. Because, you're going to get all the people that are super passionate about it are going to run out and sign it. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's more like, needles in the haystack of the people that you can get motivated enough to do it.
I see.
And when people don't think that it's actually going to happen, they don't sign it, because especially with somebody like with Latoya Cantrell, like as vindictive as she is, you don't want to put yourself on a list.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying they can't make this happen. I'm saying it's like it's never actually happened in Louisiana. If it was going to happen to anybody, it happened to her. So we'll see. But, my default position on a recall is you don't do it to actually recall the politician in question. You do it kind of almost like it's the space program, like it spits out like side technologies and benefits that you didn't expect. Like you get lists of people who feel a certain way that you may not get from like the voter file, for example.
Yeah. Now, in case you don't know this, Scott, we have a pretty long reach. We have listeners all over the country, all over the world. And for those of you that don't know, Mayor Cantrell has been our mayor. She's on her second term. She's been an absolute nightmare, and she refuses.
Worst in America.
Yeah, I mean, she refuses to, say her sorry for anything or any remorse. I mean, she doubles down, and she's actually ruining the city of New Orleans, and so there's this big push to get her recalled. Yeah. And people are going around getting signatures, so that's what that's all about. But the thing of it is the arrogance of it all. With me, I mean. I don't know what's the proper way to handle something like that classy. Would you have an idea? How would you handle something like that if you were her and be classy about it? You got any ideas on that?
Well, I mean, the first thing you do is you'd fly coach, right? Because she takes trips everywhere. And the city's policy is, if the taxpayer dollars are involved, you fly coach. And so she's got to go take junkets to France and Switzerland. And, she's going to go make sister city agreements with these like little tiny villages in these, like the French version of Martha's Vineyard, basically. She's going to go make a sister city agreement so she can get a vacation. Right. Mm-hmm. And, has to fly business class. And, she spent something like $30,000 on plane tickets above and beyond her thing. Her security flies coach, and she's saying, well, I have to fly business class because it's my safety is at issue. It's like your security is in coach.
They're 30 rows back is where they are.
Yeah. I mean, it's like roving bands of pirates in coach on transatlantic flights. I mean, the whole thing is such an insult to everybody's intelligence. And look, New Orleans, I grew up in Metairie, so I'm not actually a New Orleanian unless, you want to kind of grandfather me in or something.
Orleans, yeah, of course.
It's kind of my city, but let's be honest. Orleans Parish doesn't have a good electorate. Okay. They vote very badly over and over and over again. And so the real question would be, all right, like, even if you could get rid of her, can you elect someone better? And this is true of lots and lots of urban areas across America. The answer is no. But having said that, I mean, the churn is a thing, right? Like if you can punish like truly ineffective politicians, even if it gets you another truly ineffective politician, it's at least something that you make a statement and say, this isn't good enough, right? Like, you talked about the Saints. If the backup quarterback sucks too, at least you fired the starter, right?
Yeah.
And, like if you have a bad quarterback, you're probably going to lose the game anyway. So it's not that bad a thing to say, hey, throwing 3 interceptions and a half gets you put on the bench on this team.
A quarter,
right?
A quarter.
You're right.
Tampa Bay game,
a quarter.
It was on the
as the case may be, it can be a quarter. Which is why I'm.
Cantrell's the worst in the country. Is she really worse than Chicago's mayor? I mean,
they got a new mayor now. They got a new mayor.
Well, no, is it
Lori Lightfoot? No. They still have
Lightfoot.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, they do? I thought she was okay. All right.
She's
no Beetlejuice is very much still there.
She's in her first term, I believe.
Look like Beetlejuice.
I guess it's. who wants to? I guess why even compare the two? They're both pitiful, I'm
just wondering what her behavior is like, Scott. Her behavior when she goes to these places and meets with these other. She's what do they call them? She's a liaison. She's pushing the city in European countries. Because I know some stories about her. She hangs out in the CBD. Her and her husband at the Voodoo Lounge in the CBD.
Oh yeah,
and there's stories about her. I mean, she can get pretty freaking raunchy and drunk in that joint. I mean, I can't imagine the way she actually gets some of that really good French wine in her.
Yeah.
Well, I got the impression that she didn't hang out with her husband anymore.
Oh, really?
Has that changed?
I don't know.
The story I heard is she's taken up with a new fella.
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
Yeah.
So who's this Eileen Carter, though? She seems to be the one who's like real vocal about the recall, and they were really close. And I guess she actually worked for Cantrell.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
You know who she is, though?
No.
She's Karen Carter Peterson's sister. You know, Karen Carter Peterson, the state senator who like just had to resign because she stole all the money from the Louisiana Democrat Party to feed her gambling habit. Eileen Carter is her sister, which, you know, is whatever it is. But I mean, that's who she is. Of course, her partner in this is Noonie Man Batiste, who runs for everything and gets 2%. And he's like, I think he's like a Mardi Gras Indian, which is kind of cool. But I mean, so like, you know, these are the people that are running this. Or at least fronting it. I don't know if there's like money behind it or whatever. And we'll see. I mean, you know, they certainly seem to have more visibility than most recall efforts I've seen. So, and the other thing they've got in their favor is that Latoya is the gift that keeps on giving. Right? Like you put her in front of a press conference, there's another 5,000 people signing
She doubled down on everything. Yeah, she doubled down on everything.
When is the signature deadline?
It's coming out.
Oh, that's like February. I mean, they got a while.
So they got a while. But they're not.
Yeah, they had like 6 months, and they're only like a month in, and they say
it seems like WWL is like really into this. You know,
she doesn't have many fans anymore. Let's just put it that way. I did sign it.
Radio.
I did sign it, Scott. And then,
good for you.
And of course, what came out, there was that story that came out that said that New Orleans per capita was the murder capital of the country. Of course, she denied that. Now, you know, there was a man that stabbed 2 people within 12 minutes on September the 24th.
Yeah.
You know, but how do they come up with those stats about murder capital per capita? Because when I mentioned that to Teddy, he argued, he said, oh, no, Baton Rouge is.
Well, I saw a CBS list that had Baton Rouge at 5 and New Orleans at 6 in the country. So, I mean, who's worse? I don't know.
Well, I think you know, of course, in all of these places, there's a murder every couple of days. And so, you know, every time there's a murder, and I guess they stack it up over the course of a year. Or maybe some of these things will do it over like a 5-year period, you know, or something like that. And so they generate something of a weighted average or whatever. So there's probably a million different ways to judge this. And so it depends on how you judge it. But the fact of the matter is there's probably 20, 25 cities across America that have these super elevated murder rates. And it's just, you know, depending on how, you know, raucous a weekend it was, you're going to fluctuate on the murder rankings. And that may ultimately be how this thing goes, is that somebody figures out a real-time murder index and puts up a website and gets a zillion clicks and makes a fortune off of it by doing the Murder City sweepstakes.
Well, Scott, look, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an expert, but don't all of those places, if not all, but most of those places have a common denominator? And I think that common denominator is, you know, poverty in the inner city, lack of leadership, you know, from the top, no male mentorship. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and one party Democrat control.
Well, yeah.
That's true. Every single one of them. I mean, yeah, every single one of them is, you know, they've had their last Republican mayor, maybe ever. And it's, you know, that was 15, 20 years ago. And, you know, so, like I have this thing and I talk about it in my book, and I've talked about it, you know, at the Hayride and all, you know, everywhere else I write, this thing I call weaponized governmental failure. Okay. And what it is, and, you know, back in like the 90s when you had these Marion Barrys and Kwame Kilpatricks and people like that, who were just like comically awful mayors.
and yet on video.
Right. I mean, and they kept winning re-election, and the Democrat Party started to realize, you know what? Here's the thing. You don't get punished for being that bad. What happens is all the people that would vote against you pick up and leave for the suburbs. And what's left is this hardcore electorate that will never turn you out. And so don't fix the potholes, and don't fight crime, and don't have good schools. Definitely don't provide a business, you know, climate that anybody would want to start a business in. You know, and do all of these kind of woke social justice things that drive middle class, voters and taxpayers insane, and they'll all leave. They won't vote against you because at some point you reach the point where they can't get to 50% against you. And so they hit the road, and you have a few rich people who will throw money at your campaign so that they can get access and call you, hey, I got a pothole in front of my house. That pothole you fix, right? But everything else is a la carte with them. Their kids go to private school. They got private security in their neighborhoods, the whole shooting match. And then everybody else is poor. And poor people, if you don't want to govern well, poor people are easy to govern. Mm-hmm. You give them midnight basketball instead of cops, and they think it's a good thing, right? Because poor people, generally speaking, like every interaction most everybody has with a cop is bad. But every interaction that poor people have with cops is always bad. There's either a crime and they're being asked whether they committed it, or the crime happened to them, or like maybe in most cases, law-abiding poor people, the absolute worst thing that can happen when you get in an encounter with a cop is he's going to give you a ticket, and it's $200 that you do not have. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, okay, so do we eat this month, or do I go behind on the bills? Like, they're terrified of the cops, not because they think they're going to get shot. It's like, if this guy writes me a ticket, I don't know, like it's going to take me 3 months to get straight with my bills. Right. And like, so, you get it to the point where you can really easily demonize cops in front of poor people. They don't cooperate with them. They do the whole thing. And now crime goes through the roof. And guess what crime makes people? More dependent on government.
It does. And breaking news here, by the way, from the All Over the Road New Orleans podcast newsroom. Thank you, Teddy.
Yep.
The man that went on the 12-hour stabbing spree on September 24th, his description is out. Okay. He's a black male with gold teeth wearing a white T-shirt and blue jeans. That's about 90% of the dudes in Central City.
That'll narrow it down.
That narrows it down,
Man,
baby.
That narrows it down.
Jeez. So,
well, I mean, the murder rate sky high in New Orleans, I mean, that's got to kill tourism. I mean,
but you know what? It doesn't. It doesn't.
Well, I think it's down.
No.
It's not down?
No, it's down.
It doesn't. That's the thing.
How they
go ahead, Scott.
Well, go ahead.
Well, there's a hardcore, tourist base in New Orleans that, I guess they're gluttons for punishment or something. But I know the convention traffic is off. I know that.
Okay, well that would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense.
Well, and that's what New Orleans is, a convention town. Their thing is once a week or every week they've got to have these whether it's the dentists or the realtors or what, from all over the country to come in, and they don't want to come to New Orleans because everything they hear is so bad. And, that's a problem.
Now, I talk to people all the time, and a lot of people that come to New Orleans, I own a business and talk to a lot of people that like to visit here. And I tell them, I say, look, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be stumbling, bumbling, and bumbling drunk. But pretty much make your way around during the day. It's safe, but it's not. It's night, and they just brush it off. It's like it's one of these things. Well, it's not going to happen to me. But the thing is, down here now, it can happen to you. Mm-hmm. It really can. It's a shame. I wanted to talk to you a little before we get to the Saints thing because I can't wait to get to that. I know I mentioned that already. Did I tell you I met Reggie Jackson? Scott.
What, like New York Yankees Reggie Jackson?
Oh, yeah. God, I freaked out, dude.
Nice.
I freaked out. I was totally starstruck. I've been telling people that. I was totally starstruck. I just can't stop talking about it. See, I'm buying right now.
Just thought of it.
Okay, now November.
I mean, when I was I guess I was 7 when he went off in the World Series.
Yeah, 78.
Growing up, that was like that. Okay, I was 8. I was the biggest Reggie Jackson fan there was when I was.
Yeah, he was iconic. Iconic. Now, is November 8th all these midterm elections? Because I got to be honest with you, since Trump lost the election, and I don't, and I'm not this guy that's going to blow the roof off with Donald Trump. I mean, I think he did some great things. I think the way he handled himself. I mean, I don't know. I think we all have regrets, but and the witch hunt that's going on right now is pretty ridiculous. But I haven't watched any Fox News or anything since the end of that election. Now, November 8th is coming around, and I was telling Martha, I want to be all over that. What can we really expect or hope to expect, or what is the reality of what could happen November the 8th? And is anything going to happen at all?
Well, okay, so you've got, basically three classes of things to pay attention to, right? The first one is there's a whole bunch of governor elections that are up. Republicans have more governors than Democrats. They're probably going to have a good bit more Republican governors than Democrats. Like to the tune of 33, 34 out of the 50 will be Republican governors. Then the next thing is the House, which, the Democrats have a very, very, very small majority in the House that most people think is going to go away. And it probably will. The Republicans are probably going to pick up 30 seats or so, maybe a little bit more. And then the Senate is 50-50. And there's basically 7 seats that are rated as toss-ups. Like I'm going by the Real Clear Politics average, where they basically say that of the seats that are out there, the Republicans have a fairly good handle on 47. The Democrats have a fairly good handle on 46. The other 7 are in the lurch, and they have the Republicans winning 2 more than the Democrats. So in other words, they would have the Republicans picking up, 5 of the 7 and being at 52-48. And I think that's probably a pretty good handle on it. I might go 53 or even 54 for the Republicans, depending on the size of this wave.
Okay, so you're predicting control of the House by the Republicans by November 8th. Is that what you're predicting?
Yeah, definitely they're going to have control of the House. I would bet they're going to control the Senate. They already have more governors than the Democrats, and they're going to gain. I don't remember how many gubernatorial seats it would be, but they're going to gain on that. And so it's going to be a Republican election. The first midterm after a new president goes in almost always goes to the opposite party.
Yeah. Are they going to have these goofy mail-in stuff like they did for the presidential thing, or no?
Yeah, they'll have some of that, but it won't be to the same scale, because what happened is a lot of states went and changed their elections laws to make sure you couldn't do things like ballot harvesting. And then the other thing is, remember, the way they did all that in 2020 was because of COVID that people couldn't go to the polls. And so they did kind of special circumstances type stuff that enabled all the mail-in ballots. Well, you don't have that. I mean, right. Even Biden says the pandemic is over. So
he said it.
So you're kind of back to normal on that, and it's going to kind of shut down the opportunity in some of these kind of contested places from 2020 that you're just not going to be able to do that like you used to.
So what's in Louisiana? What's the interesting? I know Kennedy's up for re-election as a senator.
There's none.
And then what else is interesting to look at?
Honestly, I wish I could tell you there were like interesting races out there, but there kind of aren't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 6 congressional races. Every one of them, the incumbent's going to win easy.
Okay.
Kennedy is going to win in the primary. He's got, 3 Democrats he's running against, none of whom have any real stature. The interesting thing there is this guy, Gary Chambers, who's probably going to run first among the Democrats, is really running not to beat Kennedy, despite, the things that he has to say running. What he's really running is he wants to take over the Democrat Party in Louisiana. And there's this super interesting dynamic between sort of the, John Bel Edwards, old school kind of trial lawyer, white Democrat crowd, and the black community, which is 60% of registered Democrats in the state. And, the blacks of it's almost like a feudal enterprise, which is, the blacks are the serfs. And then, the white Democrats are like the lords of the manor. You have to let us run at the top of the ticket because y'all can't win. Right. And the thing of it is you're starting to get to the point where the white Democrats can't win. And that means the black Democrats will be like, well, we want the union money that comes from D.C. and we want to be able to spend that on these elections rather than getting, the scraps from the table when you guys get to spend it, when your candidate can't win either. Right. And at that point, like, that's when it flips over, and you're basically going to have like the Republicans of the white party and the Democrats of the black party in the state. And it might actually work better than it does now.
Right.
Because, I mean, what I find is a lot of these, a lot of these black politicians, particularly like at the state legislature, they're actually pretty transactional. And so you can make some sort of consensus on a lot of things by just, like, all right, we'll make a deal. What do you want? I mean, on social issues, what you find is, black Democrats are not, they're pretty conservative on social stuff. I mean, all the abortion laws that we passed that went into effect after the Roe v. Wade decision got overturned in the Dobbs case. I mean, the big one that kind of banned abortion all over Louisiana was written by Katrina Jackson, who's a black Democrat from Monroe. Mm-hmm. And I mean, like, she's a huge pro-life, supporter. She's a total socialist in every other respect. But I mean, she's pro-life. You got a bunch of pro-gun Democrats. You got, like, the black community is not, as woke as you make them out, as, the media would make them out to be. They're just not. I mean, like, what goes on in a black church is pretty similar to what goes on in a white church. Mm-hmm. The politics are a lot different, and some of the themes in it don't mesh very well. But when you get right down to it, a lot of this stuff, you can make a deal. What you can't do is when a John Bel Edwards is speaking for the black community as a white Democrat, and then he puts himself out there that he's going to negotiate with the Republicans, you don't really address everybody's core issues. So maybe a binary thing where it's, white Republicans and black Democrats making deals amongst each other may get you somewhere. That's actually how it looks like in a state like Tennessee or Mississippi or Alabama. Like, that is pretty much how it works. And I hate to say it, those guys are all doing better than Louisiana is right now.
Well, we'll get off Louisiana, but just to say one thing about Louisiana, I mean, it's a cultural thing. It's a generational thing. It's a habitual thing. And hopefully with the new generation coming up, they'll grow out of it. I agree with you. They're not as woke as you think. There are some free thinkers out there. I know a lot of intelligent black young people that I'm friends with, and they do have conservative views. It is Jesus on Sunday, but it's Democrat when the curtain pulls. But I think that is about to change. One more thing about Louisiana, and that is this. Who's your prediction for the next governor of Louisiana? I know it's early. But do you have an early front runner?
The early front runner is Jeff Landry. I mean, the guy. I mean, he's a fundraising machine. He will be way more long stacked than any other candidate that gets in the race. Every beginning of September every year, he does this alligator hunt at this fishing camp that they've got on it's like in Catahoula, Louisiana, which is in St. Martin Parish. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's a hike to get there, but you go and you show up, and like, I think it's $5,000 for a tag, and they went through 200 tags this year. So that was like $1 million right then and there before they sold any corporate sponsorships or any of it. Like, this is a big event that they do every year. He's been doing it for, 10 years now. And he raises $1.5 million every year.
You don't think None Guesser is the front runner? You think?
Well, I don't know where Billy, I don't know how Billy can generate the kind of
the money,
support and money and whatever that Landry can. And the other thing about Landry is, like, Landry's gonna have Donald Trump working for him.
Yeah, he will.
And that will be a big thing. Now, like, what Landry needs and wants, and something tells me he's going to get, is there's going to be a black Democrat in the race that will soak up, the 32% or 33% of the electorate that's, black Democrats, and make the runoff. And then at that point, it's okay, well, who's the conservative candidate in the race? And then, you put Landry against whoever, right? Like, J.P. Morrell or Sharon Broom or, whoever it might be. And, he's going to beat them 55-45 or something, and then he's your next governor. Like, that's the model Landry wants. The question is that if it's two Republicans in the runoff, one of them would be Landry, but if it's Landry, Nungesser in the runoff, does none get all the Democrat vote and the moderate Republican vote, and it's enough to beat Landry.
Yeah.
And I think it just depends on how the candidates perform before you would really know that.
Yeah.
But those are kind of the two models. And then the other thing is like if Bill Cassidy gets in the race, which people have talked about.
God forbid.
Nobody's going to vote for Bill Cassidy. He will embarrass himself if he gets in. But he'll have money. I mean, he'll do that. He'll come on TV. And Bill Cassidy's face will be all over TV. And everybody in Louisiana will be like, oh, my God.
His teeth are beady. When I was a kid, I used to watch this cartoon called Underdog. And Underdog, there was this like mad scientist in there, and he had Bill Cassidy's eyes and nose and beady little beady teeth. Can't stand them. Now, here's the thing, okay? I'm going to ask you if Trump's going to run again, okay? But I'm not going to ask you yet, and if he can even win a nomination. But what story it is? This is deep in the mind of the brilliant Scott Mckay. What story that's out there that you know of that's not yet a story that you think is going to be a big story? First of all, is that a good question? And second of all, can you answer it?
Well, as it happens, it really is a pretty good question. And you probably haven't heard about this. The mainstream media has not touched it. Okay. But there is a guy up in Pennsylvania. His name is Mark Houck. And he's like a Catholic activist. He's a speaker, he does this whole thing. And one of the things that he does is he's like one of these sidewalk counselors, right? Stands out front of an abortion clinic. Girl comes in and says, hey, whatever you do, don't go in there. Don't do it, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the whole thing. And this is, I don't know, earlier this year, I guess he brings his son with him. He's got 7 kids, this guy. Brings his son, 12 years old, to go do sidewalk counseling. Hey, this is my son. He's the love of my life. Don't deny yourself. This, the whole thing. Some like pro-choice / pro-abortion, whatever guy gets in this dude's face, threatens his son some kind of way, and a shoving match results. Okay. So the guy presses charges against Mark Houck. The local DA is like, yeah, I'm not going to, I'm not going to prosecute that case. So the guy sues Houck in civil court. That gets thrown out. Last week, the FBI showed up at his house with 20 guys brandishing guns at his 7 children and his wife. Because they say that he violated something called the FACES Act, which is this federal law that bars people from like blocking folks to go into abortion clinics and so forth, which, like sidewalk counseling is allowed in the FACES Act. Okay. It's like a patent BS charge, but they sent 20 FBI agents to this guy's house.
They're out of control. This FBI agents.
No, it's totally out of control, which is why this is such a big story, because before it was, but these were, insurrectionist January 6 people, whatever. And then it was, but Trump had these documents and that's why we went to Mar-a-Lago. This guy's done nothing. He's done nothing. He's a peaceful guy. They gave him a subpoena. His lawyer told him, yes, he will come in and answer questions. And they sent the goon squad in anyway. So now there was this FBI agent, I think Stephen Friend was the guy's name, who turned whistleblower because he was on the SWAT team, I think out of like Daytona Beach with the FBI, and he like refused to go on one of these SWAT raids for one of these January 6 protesters. And so he filed a whistleblower complaint when they, frog marched him out of the building and fired him. And now there's 30 other FBI agents that have now done the same thing.
So wait a minute, wait. So what you're saying is this guy that was standing out in front of the abortion clinic was witnessing to young women before they went in there. And probably the thing that he did wrong is he was probably talking about Jesus. That's probably what he did wrong. But are you telling me that guy was at the January 6th thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. All right.
No, he had nothing to do with that. This is like, in other words, they just like, okay, these guys are conservative activists. And so we're going to send the SWAT team in there to intimidate them, which is all this is. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And
I got it now.
So now you've got 30 FBI agents who have now gone whistleblower saying they are sending us out on politicized raids. And of course, everybody knows this because you keep seeing all these guys that work for Trump and these other things that like they're out in their front yard in their underwear at 4 a.m. and CNN's cameras are there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like this has happened over and over and over again. And everybody is now starting to see it's like, wait a minute, like this is like the totalitarian countries in the movies, that like, you're like, thank God we don't live in a place like that, except it's going on here. And so to me, like this is the biggest story of all is the weaponization of law enforcement. And this thing with this guy, Mark Houck, this Catholic activist that's like the biggest deal of all yet. But the pattern is there's going to be way more of those over the next however many weeks, particularly up until this election. Because there's a narrative out there, and if you heard Biden when he gave his kind of satanic speech in Philadelphia with the weird red background and all this kind of stuff, and he started talking about the MAGA Republicans and they're a threat to our democracy and all this kind of stuff. And the Homeland Security people, they go white supremacists are the number one terror threat in the United States, and everybody around the country is like, okay, but what are they doing? Like, what is there an incident that you can point to? And well, January 6th, and it's like, okay, but like, what else do you have? Well, they tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan. It was like, actually, no,
that didn't even happen.
That was the feds.
Man,
that was the feds that ginned up the plot and found some goofballs that they could pin this on. That wasn't a thing. So what, like if you want to talk about a weather or a terror threat, I mean, I go like when I was a little kid, like that's the weathermen, right? Like it's the Symbionese liberation. Show me the bank they knocked over. Show me the bombings. Like, where's the actual terrorism to go with your terror threat?
Well, and if anybody ever kidnapped the governor of Michigan, they'd have her for about 5 minutes, and I guarantee you they'd bring her right back. That's
right.
One aggravating lady.
That was the Danny DeVito Bette Midler movie, right? And he kept negotiating him down because he didn't want her back. But anyway, so the whole point is that like it almost looks like they're trying to push conservative activists to the point where they like it's the point of no return, and then get an incident that they can use to validate the narrative. And doing this to this guy, Mark Houck, is, I mean, it's provocative. You can put guns in front of this guy's kids. And I mean, like, that's outrageous. And so what I'm concerned about is the idea that they're going to stoke outrage, hoping that somebody in response does something that then justifies the political narrative that they have been, assiduously building for months or really more than a year, ever since January 6th. I mean, if you remember what happened after January 6th, they ringed the Capitol in razor wire and brought out the National Guard and turned the whole thing into an armed camp. And they brought Russell Honore out to supervise it. And all of us were like, for what? For a protest? You didn't do any of this with the George Floyd riots all over the country. Like, what is going on? And the whole point was to try to gin up this feeling all around the country that, hey, our democracy is under attack. And nothing actually happened after that, except that the government keeps pushing. They push parents that show up at school board meetings saying, hey, I'd rather you not turn my kid trans. And somehow that's a threat. And
you're a terrorist.
I mean, and it's absurd, but the point is it's absurd until it's not, because if somebody gets so mad that they set off a bomb like in Oklahoma City or something, now they have it. And they say, see, we were saying this all along when it was a fake it till you make it thing from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, that's what they want. They want to, Republicans, conservatives, basically, to get so upset and so pushed against the wall that something like that happens.
Okay, look, the man's name is Scott Mckay. He's got a new book out. It's called The Revivalist Manifesto. It's a wonderful compilation. Just ordered my copy off of Amazon. You can get yours too. We're going to get into the Saints. We're going to get into another thing when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. Scott, we'll be right back with Scott Mckay. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. Here on All Over the Road, the podcast, New Orleans. You know, Teddy, here in season 4, we promised people more stories. And let me say this to you. If you have an interesting story, I don't mean you, Ted, because I know all your stories already. Yeah. But if you have an interesting story, we'd like to hear about it. Or if you know someone that would be an interesting guest or someone that has something they want to share on the program, we would like to hear from you. And how can they tell us that they have this, Teddy?
Call the 24-hour listener line.
There you go.
And I mean 24/7. It's always there. You will not get a busy signal.
We have an auto attendant. That's what we have. It's an attendant. It's not a real person.
And the number is 601 Route 66. Now, if that's too complicated for you, just call 601-768-8366.
I don't care what people tell you. Inflation is here. They're about ready to put a tax on beef, a tax on pork. Have you seen the price of milk? Inflation is here. Shortages are here. And financially, you got to figure out what the heck you're going to do with excess cash. They call it discretionary income. Well, the best thing that you need to do is to contact our friends at Coin Trader Inc. They deal in all the precious metals, rare coins. It's completely private. You don't need a social security number. You could be Bozo the Clown and open an account with Coin Trader. They've been around for 15 years. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Call them today and protect your hard-earned wealth. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and rare U.S. and ancient coins. They're experts in all that stuff. Give them a call at 504-267-6004 and tell them the king of all podcasts sent you.
A one-of-a-kind podcast. It's All Over the Road, New Orleans, with the king of all podcasting, Victor Del Giorno.
Hi, thank you for Popeye. This is Cynthia speaking. Make sure you have exact cash support and keep it popping. You hear me?
Oh, now, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Keeping it real over here. That's what you do. What can I get you, baby?
Always keep it real.
That's what I'm talking about.
Let me get a number 8, please.
A number 8? Okay, that's a 3 tender. Spicy or mayo?
Spicy?
And what side of you gonna bake that thing up for them Saints this year?
Barbecue.
And what side of you gonna talk it like it's hot?
Red beans.
And what kind of drink you gonna set it off with?
Strawberry no ice.
Strawberry Fanta off the rock?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else? Cajun rice or coleslaw?
That's it, love. Trying to wash that waistline.
Say that there, watch that waistline, you hear me? So that's a 3 spicy tender with the red beans, barbecue sauce, quick that thing with strawberry off the rock, you hear me? 927, keep it real, ride it out, babe. You already know.
You already know, love.
All right, come on around, honey, dumpling.
All right, back with Scott Mckay, Ted Semper alongside of me. Now, let me ask you this. I mean, let's get into the Saints thing real quick, okay? Do you mind, Scott?
Mm-hmm. And if you follow Scott on Facebook, you know he's been very vocal.
He's Mr. Know-It-All.
Against the Saints so far. They've only played 3 games.
Well, I know, but I made the prediction at the beginning of the year that they're going to... I don't know, but I put something on our Facebook page, Scott. You need to check it out. And it's me pleading for Sean to come back. And I was actually crying. Ask Teddy. I was actually... My eyes were welled up. I was just begging him. You know the old Shane movie? Come back, Shane. Come back. It was Come Back, Sean. And I'd love for him to come back. But here's my point real quick, and then we can get into this, okay? Dan Marino, Brett Favre, John Elway, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. Those guys play hurt. You know why? Because they're great quarterbacks and they can play hurt. Jameis Winston, he's not Marino, Favre, Elway, Montana, Manning, and Brady. He's a backup quarterback. He shouldn't be playing hurt. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. They've got the excuse right now. Okay, the guy's hurt. He's got a fractured back. He's got a bad ankle. Let's put in this backup that we've obviously got a capable backup. He was an all-pro for 3 years. Andy Dalton, nice fella. Yep. And but they keep doubling down how they're with this guy. I mean,
because they're paying him $28 million. Right?
But the guy's hurt.
Yeah,
Scott.
Right?
No,
it's crazy.
Well, I am not. I've never been a Jameis Winston fan because he turns the ball over.
Yes.
Like he's a turnover machine. He doesn't take care of the ball. He fumbles snaps. He fumbles when he gets sacked. He throws the ball up for grabs. He stares down receivers and makes it very easy for defensive backs to break on the ball and get. I mean, like he's you know, and the guy is not a rookie.
He's bewildered.
Well, he does. He does. There's no question about that. And the thing of it is, you know, like early in his career with Tampa, you could say, okay, well, you know, he's going to learn. And a lot of guys, you know, get really good athletic quarterbacks, get better with age and league. But the thing of it is that he doesn't have. I think the biggest thing with him is mental toughness, because what I notice, he turns into a turnover machine when the going gets tough.
Right.
Like he presses rather than, you know, you settle down and you let the game come to you and you pick your spots. This guy forces action. And in the NFL, forcing action means you're going to turn it over. And it's just a bad trait. I don't think you can win with a quarterback like that. And, you know, what I notice is Andy Dalton, you know, and Andy Dalton's a little bit older, okay? But Andy Dalton's career, it signified, like, when he had some talent around him, he was good. When the Bengals had any kind of offensive, you know, skill position guys that could actually, you know, do something, you know, Dalton hit him. I mean, you know, like when he had AJ Green, I mean, they did some things in Cincinnati. You know, in the latter few years of his career, he's kind of been surrounded by not much. But the Saints have a good skill set.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, you know, would this be a team that Andy Dalton's career might suddenly take a big turn for the positive if he were able to get on the field? And when I mean, right now with Winston, what I notice is they have to throttle him back to the point where it looks almost like a Les Miles or Bum Phillips offense to keep him from turning it over. And then they get late in the game where they have to open it up and he turns the ball over. And because at the end of the day, that's who Jameis Winston is.
Okay, well, look at it this way. Look at this way, Scott. Look at it this way. Last year, their quarterback room was Simeon, Taysom, and Book.
Right.
Look at their quarterback room now. Okay, it's a lot better. All right, and look at the talent they've got better talent. They got their kicker back. We got a great kicker. We didn't have a kicker last year. We didn't have a quarterback last year. We didn't have a kicker. We were one game away from making the playoffs.
I don't know how great the kicker is.
Well,
I don't know how great the kicker is right now.
I think he's good.
He is.
No, he is. He'll be fine.
Last week.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Well, he wasn't good last week.
Well, he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
He should be okay.
Last week.
Okay, but here's the deal. I think the biggest thing they miss, we can get on the Winston thing, and really they should make a change because he's not a good athlete anymore. He can't run. He's hurt. He's not a good athlete. Okay, he can throw the ball out of the stadium, but he's not accurate. But here's the thing they miss, and I said this when we did a show before the season started. They miss Sean Payton. We do not have a general. We do not have a leader. Right. And a professional football coach is a guy like, for instance, Josh Hill's a very good friend of mine. All right, the former Saint tight end. Okay, great young player. Mm-hmm. He lives in my area, and him and I are friends. He would tell me stuff about Sean Payton, like if he had something to do with the family or something. Hey, coach, I got something. You go take care, do something with your family. That's a player's coach. A player's coach is a guy that loves his kids. His kids will play hard for him. They'll run through a wall for him. But there's always that little thing in the back of their mind where they fear him. They fear him a little bit. And that's what Sean Payton is. And Dennis Allen will never be that. And really, it's a lost cause this year because they don't have Dennis Allen's just not the. I mean, I think Dennis Allen is the bigger problem than Jameis Winston. That's my opinion.
Well, the hope with Allen was that he would grow into the job, and I think the word that you're looking for is alpha male.
Yeah.
Because that was Peyton, right? Win or lose, whatever. Peyton had a presence. This was the alpha. This was the face of the franchise. Even more so than Drew Brees, who was the star. You know, Peyton was the guy that, look, he was accountable for that franchise. And, the hope was that, all right, well, give Allen the job. He was a great defensive coordinator, certainly knows his football. He'll grow into the role as
don't change the culture. We're not going to change the culture of the locker room. As soon as Sean Payton walks out, the culture's different. As soon as Payton walks out the door, the culture's different.
Well, that's certainly true. Now, it's only been 3 games, so there's still maybe time that this evolves into something. But what I've seen from Allen so far, this is a guy who's a coordinator that's trying to be a head coach. Maybe he does grow into that role. I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of come to Jesus moment where he's able to step up and earn the, respect of the players that, okay, this guy really is our leader. I mean, in everybody's coaching career, there is that moment. But Allen's been a head coach before, and he didn't have it with the Raiders.
Well, let me tell you this about that.
And now the question is, do you have it with the Saints?
Let me tell you something about that. Dennis Allen was the guy that stuck with DeMarcus. What was the guy that went to LSU?
DeMarcus Russell.
DeMarcus Russell.
Yeah.
He stuck by DeMarcus Russell. Mm-hmm. DeMarcus Russell was never going to happen. I see a real similarity there between DeMarcus Russell and Dennis Allen and Winston. Did you agree?
Yeah. Well, I hope I don't.
Sorry.
Like, I hope I don't, because we're all gonna be very sad if it goes down that way. And then, the worst part of this is you don't have a first round draft pick.
Yeah.
And you get all mad that they traded it for Olave, but then again, you watch Olave play and you're like, no, I probably would give that pick for him.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to be the 20th pick in the draft rather than the first pick.
Oh man, I tell you, this past week, Teddy, it was the first week I had to turn it off. I couldn't watch it. I just
you really turned it off.
I really turned it off. Well, I mean, I went back and watched some of the other games on the ticket, and then I followed the Saints game on the ticker, but I never turned it back on. I could not watch it. It was too hard to watch. To me, I don't know. And
what do y'all think about Matthew? I mean, he's been kind of a letdown.
Oh, he's done. He's done.
What do you mean done?
He's done.
Done? Did he ever look worse than that pass play?
Yeah, he's long in the tooth. He's done.
Where he got beat?
He's no replacement for Gardner Johnson. Let's put it that way. Okay, well, I got one more thing to talk to Scott about, Teddy.
What?
Now, Scott, you're doing all these shows, all right? Have you been approached by WL yet? And
Scoot?
And Scoot, who was elected Broadcaster of the Year. Gambit Magazine made him the top broadcaster in the city of New Orleans. And, what do you think of that? Do you know Scoot?
Well, I mean, I don't know him. I know who he is. Right. I mean, I grew up listening to B97 FM,
right?
Back in the day, and he was a DJ in that. I can't say that I'm like overly impressed with any of the shows on WWL.
So he's never invited you on the show.
No. The last time I was on WWL, this is actually a fairly funny story, was when Garland Robinette had his show.
Okay.
And it was back when Bobby Jindal was trying to merge Suno and UNO. You remember that? It was back in, I don't know, 2011 or something.
Yeah, I remember.
So, and they had me on, and I had written like a whole thing about, no, what you need to do is you need to shut Suno down, right? Because at the time they had like a 6-year graduation rate of like 7%, or no, actually it's 5%. And so I was like, this is an embarrassment to the whole state. Just get rid of it, right? And so, and I'm making my case, and somebody calls up, oh, you're just a racist. You want to deny black people a college education. And so I said, well, if that were true, I would be a big fan of Suno because it's 95% effective in denying black people a college education. And it was okay. Well, we got to go to break, and the producers on the other was like, "Oh my God, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard." They never asked me back on WWL. It's been more than a decade. They've never asked me back, and I was like, I don't regret it because I was right, and that was a hell of a good line. But I think Garland Robinette lost his mind when I said that. And that was it. And, so, I mean, John Osterlin had a pretty good show for a while on WWL, and I guess he's not there anymore.
I thought he was on R&O.
He wasn't on WWL.
Oh, is that? No, that's right. He was. He's on R&O. And I did Osterlin's show, and it wasn't on WWL. Yeah. So never mind. Forget that.
Now, when you listened to B97 back in the day, do you remember a disc jockey named Hollywood Harrison?
Yes.
You do? You know that was Teddy.
Yes.
You know that was Teddy.
Yes.
Well,
I didn't, but good for you, Teddy.
That was Teddy.
I don't know. Why are you not Hollywood Harrison anymore?
Well, because he's too old.
What was wrong with that? Did you burn that brand or what?
Pretty much.
He's
okay.
He's too old. He's too old to play Beyonce records, so that's why he's
right.
Well, and do you remember the Big Ragu? You remember that guy?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, well, that was
He was your weekend guy.
That was me. Yeah, I wasn't on as much.
Oh,
as
you were
Teddy
Big
was.
Ragu?
Yeah,
Well,
all right.
we both worked there a few times, but we both worked with Scoot.
We did,
and
we both do a
Scoot talked
impression.
to Vic. I think he talked to you.
He may
like
have
within in the station, amongst the staff, but he wouldn't talk to very many. I worked with him at WNOE, as a matter of fact, too.
So now we both do a Scoot impression.
Yeah.
And we're not going to tell you which one is doing it first. So you tell us which one. We're going to do Scoot A and Scoot B. Okay. And you tell us which one sounds the most like Scoot. Okay. So here is Scoot A. Okay. Let me try this again. You can't laugh. Okay. We're going to have to switch it up now.
Nobody's laughing.
All right. It's Scoot A.
Okay. Who's going to go first? It's Scoot A, Scoot B. Who is it?
Okay. Here he is. Scoot A.
I'm Scoot. I'm Scoot.
Okay, that was Scoot A. All right, now here's Scoot B. Hey, Scott, this is Scoot. I'm never going to have you on my program because I think you're too conservative. I like to wear hip high boots and fishnet stockings. This is Scoot. All right, so that was.
I'm gonna say B is it. I'm gonna say B's got it.
You just like what he said.
Now, I am not an expert on.
All right, I'll never do Scoot again.
No. I
mean, I'm not an expert on Scoot in the morning. Okay?
Vic Scoot is
no.
You know what a puker is in radio? A puke.
No.
Scoot doesn't really puke.
Let me just say
he kind
this.
of whisper talks.
Let me just say this. I'll take that victory because I'm a competitive guy. I'll take the victory.
Okay.
But Teddy, I much prefer your Scoot. Over mine. I don't think you said enough. Is what it was.
Because I can't stay in the character. So
you have to embrace the character if you're going to do it on the show.
I'm Scoot.
Yeah.
And here's Scott.
Hey, Scoot.
Hey, Scott and Scoot.
Hey, I got Scott and Scoot on. Scott McKay's here. Hey, Scott.
Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Scott's our
guest.
Guys.
And then here's Scoot. Hey, Scoot. How's it going?
Hey, pretty good, Scott. How are you?
I'm Scoot. No, you're Scoot. I'm Scoot. We're all Scoot.
Boy, Scoot hates Trump, huh? Scoot? Jeez. He hates Cantrell and he hates Trump.
I know. He hates everybody. He hates everybody.
And he's not, you know what?
Yeah,
what you
not.
implied.
He's not.
By what
Whatever you think. He's not. Don't let the wardrobe. Don't let the flamboyant wardrobe fool you.
Yeah.
Scott McKay. He's got a great book out, people. Listen.
Scott, I like the way you changed your profile picture on Facebook. You changed it to Andy Dalton. Was that this morning? I just noticed it. Yeah.
Love it.
No, I did it in the middle of the game Sunday. I turned into the Red Rocket.
Well, anyway.
Well, maybe he'll get a chance. What do you? So real quick though, what do you think? One more game for Winston? 2 more games? Look,
at 1-3, you really have to.
He's not even going to London?
He's not playing Sunday. Dalton's playing. He didn't even go to London.
Oh, well, this is Dalton's chance.
Is it. This is his chance.
Wait, say that again?
Andy Dalton.
So you're saying Winston's not going? I hadn't heard that.
He didn't make the trip to England.
Oh.
He's not there.
They've been gone early in the week.
They've been gone all week. And unless he shows up last minute, I don't know. But it hasn't been announced.
What's the line on the game?
That I don't know.
Anybody know what the line is?
Teddy will check it out real quick.
Because honestly, if Dalton's going to start the Saints may be an interesting play if you're in that.
Oh, and they're undefeated in London, by the way. The Saints. I think
Are they?
Yeah, I think they're 2-0 in London.
So it's Minnesota -3.
So the Saints are getting 3 points.
So it's a catch in 3?
Yeah. Listen to him. He's, you know what? I think Scott does a little playing.
I mean, I don't usually, but that's tempting because honestly, you never know, right? I mean,
right.
It could be a little kick in the pants.
Could be.
To change quarterbacks and do a thing.
Well, I think for sure the game's way too early Sunday morning, 8:30.
Yeah.
Well,
local time.
Game kicks off 9:00 New Orleans time. Pre-game starts before that.
Okay.
But I don't think Teddy. I'm going on a limb by saying that Scott McKay is probably our favorite guest.
But you tell everybody that, Vic.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Don't say that because I don't. I don't say that.
He doesn't.
I don't say that.
I just said that.
And
I'm Scoot.
His name is Scott McKay.
He's not Scoot.
He's not Scoot. It's the Revivalist Manifesto. and it might be the semi-annual political book of the coming year. I'm telling you, it is a great book. It's available on Amazon now, wherever you find all your great books. Scott, appreciate you. You know we love you. You know that, and we like you because you share the show, and sharing is caring.
You know, look up his website. He's got a great website. You call it Reviver, right?
RVIVR.com.
RVIVR.com. Not to be confused with the punk rock band from Olympia, Washington. Did you know there was a punk rock band with the same name?
Yeah, well, I'm aware of it now, yes.
Yeah. Well, when you search RVIVR, they both come up.
In the last episode, we had this lady on called Princess Beverly, and she is a expert on the royal family.
Yes, she is.
And so we had to play a version of God Save the Queen, and guess which one I played?
I don't know.
The Sex Pistols, baby.
Oh, okay.
Of course.
The Sex Pistols. But anyway, Scott, we appreciate you. We love having you on the show because when we do have you on the show, we do get a lot of downloads. And I'm going to promote the heck out of it. I got a new thing doing when I do these videos, and they get viral views, and we're going to get a bunch of downloads. So I think we accomplished something today. And we'll get the technical difficulties straightened out so we can do that StreamYard thing with you next time. Okay, Scott?
Sounds good, guys.
By the next time I talk to you, I would have read the book. I promise, okay?
Sounds good.
Scott Mckay, people.
Later, Scott.
God bless you guys. Don't forget when you listen to the show to tell your friends about it. And what's the best way to tell your friends about it is how, Teddy?
Tell your friends about the show by sharing the show. Get the link, and whether you're on Apple, wherever, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn,
Tuggle, Tagadooga.
Yeah, any of those platforms. And we're on TikTok now.
Steak.
All over the road, New Orleans. Instagram, all over the road. AOTR New Orleans.
Check it out.
So, check it out. Check it out. We're everywhere.
For my brother in broadcasting, Ted Semper, I am Victor Del Giorno, the king of all podcasting, saying it's been fun, but it's time to run. The clock on the wall said that's all, folks. God bless you.
Come on, the Coin Trader Studios, we're bringing it live. And who am I? I go by the name of Darkest Night. And Jada Hoyos is the one who brings a sick beat, to which we're getting pumped for topics this week. So let me grab my great soda and take a sip, while I turn it over to Katie, Nick, Ted, and Vic. It's all over. We're all over the road. We got a brand new show, so just lo and behold, from the bayou to the city to the birds to the swamps, you better know what time it is when you're hearing that.
I'm planning your weekend trip to New Orleans. Let's go. First things first, you're staying at the Young Hotel. And depending on when you get there, you're gonna check in, and then you're gonna stop by this amazing pool club at the Virgin Hotel. Like, look at that. Saturday, we're waking up early and we're going straight to the French Quarter. Then you're gonna get lunch and, of course, beignets at the Café du Monde. For dinner, we're making reservations at Antoine's restaurant, and you have to order the iconic Café Brûlot. I'm just gonna apologize now for my pronunciation. Then Sunday morning before you head home, we're gonna stop by Cherry Coffee Roasters. Save this video and tag someone you're gonna take with you.
All Over the Road New Orleans is brought to you by Coin Trader Inc. Mind your money.